right now the conversation when the league's best player comes out and says, hey, there needs to be a clarification. Connor McDavid last night, quote, the league has got to clarify some of these rules. What's a kick? What's offside? What's goalie interference? It kind of depends on the night, I guess. And, he was referencing the goal that was called back in overtime. They went to review and they deemed that Connor McDavid, because his skates were in the zone first when he entered the zone, and you are allowed to enter the zone ahead of the puck if you have control. They deemed he didn't have control of the puck because if you watch the replay, now I always recommend watching it in real time because in slow time, it looks like, oh yeah, it's so not control. Well, in real time, when you're stick handling, lots of times the puck isn't on your stick, but you have control. The one play was the Kuznetsov play from Washington. That if you're looking at a true comparable a few years ago, he came in first. He came across the blue line, but then he just left the puck there, kind of like a drop pass. His teammate picked it up, and they deem that's control. Dave Jackson, who of course former NHL ref, on Twitter said, "Hey, here's the fact: control is going to be subjective," and he's right. Like there's, I don't know. Like I look and say, okay, it's the best player in the game. He controls the puck. I watched the replay. He didn't touch it when it came across the zone. So I can see how they deem, okay, he doesn't have control. On the other side, I'm like, hey, the guy's best players in the world all the time. Like,
yeah, do you think he doesn't know where he's putting that puck?
Yes, exactly.
So that's the one thing. And I'm with you on that. Like I watch that and I say that's Connor McDavid in full control of the puck and where it's heading. But I wonder if there's any influence of Ryan O'Reilly's stick, essentially stick checking him at that point, that sort of makes it appear as if he's not in complete control.
Yeah, and that's why. And he didn't. And I'm watching the replay again. When it comes through, right, him and O'Reilly are kind of stick checking almost a bit. No one touches it, and then the other order touches the puck, and so that's why they deem it's not control. And
it is totally different than Makar, though, because Makar's feet did not enter first.
Yeah, like I understand why. In the heat of the moment, right after an emotional game, you remember that and say, "Hey, you know what? Makar never touched the puck. What's control?" But it's a different rule. It's a different play. The Kuznetsov one. And we'll put it up on our board. That's the one that's the comparison to it, right? The difference is there's no pressure. There's no one coming to him. And so when the puck, he leaves it there, I think he purposely leaves it like a drop pass. So that's deemed under control. His teammate comes in. But because Ryan O'Reilly's battling for it, I can see why it happens. The truth is, and their head coach admitted it, McDavid admitted it, Darnell Nurse admitted it. They shouldn't have never been in overtime because Darnell Nurse had a horrible giveaway in the last 18 seconds of the game, right? You can't make that play.
On a night of other horrible giveaways.
Yeah, he had 2 last game. It was not a banner night for number 25. But I do think for Connor McDavid, who's never really said anything, Frank, for a guy who for years, gets hooked and holed, and when you look at the amount of penalties drawn on him compared to other players around the league, for a guy he's never ever complained. So the league, you can be arrogant, or you can just say, hey, wait a sec. Maybe we have to at least look and say, okay, is there a way to get more consistency? But I really like Dave Jackson when he said, hey, control is subjective. There are always going to be calls. There's going to be a gray area in some reviews. Do you not agree? Like some kicks you're like, well, geez, I don't think that's a kick. And then you watch it, Frank, and you're like, oh yeah, I think it's a kick. I don't think it's going to be any different for the guys in the booth. Like unless you have the same person all the time, how do you get for sure consistency?
I guess I think in this case, like that's, and just as in baseball, the tie always goes to the runner.
Yeah, fair.
In this case, like if it's that close, the player should be given the benefit of the doubt, especially the best player in the world. Like I don't think for 1 second, even as the puck isn't actually definitively touching his stick or on his stick, that he's not in complete control of the puck. But yeah, I understand what the rule says, and it is pretty clear in black and white. And for all the people out there that are arguing about the Makar call, they're 2 different rules too. Yeah, one's delayed offside, the other one is just plain offside. So yeah, it's you could go down a rabbit hole, but as you said, the Oilers could have just not been in this spot and wouldn't have had the issue.
Yeah. Like Tyson Barrie said, he goes, hey, if the best player in the world who makes plays with the puck thinks he has control, I haven't seen the replay, but I'm going to believe him. And it's